Welcome to the North Gate. I'm Aitan Zacchaeus, and this is the channel for truth. Here, you will be learning about the Bible in its uncut form, raw, gritty, and with no filter. So if your heart pumps Kool-Aid, this ain't the channel for you.
All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, HaMashiach, Yahweh Shai. The road to salvation is only offered to the bloodline of Israel, and it's one long, bloody battle of spiritual warfare to gain the ultimate gift, the gift of eternal life. This gift is not going to come to those who slacken the faith, but to only those who are diligent in the word, to those that are the elect. The book of Matthew, chapter 24, verses 30 through 31. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heaven to the other. From the Bible, let's get a complete understanding of what nationality is the elect, so there's no confusion. The book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 4. For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel mine elect, I have even called thee by thy name. So in understanding that Israel are the elect, we must also understand that the elect are amongst the best, meaning this is the tryouts for the kingdom. Remember, the Most High is going to have to put up with you forever. So common sense should tell us he's not just going to pick anyone and everybody. For example, the odds of NBA players is 1 out of 35 who tried out for a single position. Multiply by 5, you'll have 5 elect out of 175 tryhards. Those aren't good odds. Let's see the basic odds for the kingdom selection, and mind you, this is after all the tribulation days where the death toll is already high because a third part of everything has been destroyed. The book of Matthew, chapter 24, verses 37 through 42. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came, and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken, and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken, and the other left. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. I'm willing to bet this is where these heathen came up with that Avengers movie character Thanos and his desire to kill 50% of all things in the universe. Let me not get sidetracked. Let's get another account here. The book of Luke, chapter 17, verses 34 through 37. I tell you, in that night there shall be 2 men in one bed. The one shall be taken, and the other shall be left. 2 women shall be grinding together. The one shall be taken, and the other left. 2 men shall be in the field. The one shall be taken, and the other left. And they answered and said unto him, Where, Lord? And he said unto them, Wheresoever the body is, thither will the eagles be gathered together. The book of Matthew, chapter 24, verses 27 through 28. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. So clearly, you want to be the one left, because the taken are the dead on their way to perdition. 2nd Ezra, chapter 9, verses 15 through 16. I have said before, and now do speak, and will speak it also hereafter, that there be many more of them which perish than of them which shall be saved. like a wave is greater than a drop. The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 8, verses 1 through 3. And he answered me, saying, The Most High hath made this world for many, but the world to come for few. I will tell thee a similitude, Ezra. As when thou askest the earth, it shall say unto thee, that it giveth much mold, whereas earthen vessels are made. But little dust that gold cometh of. Even so is the course of this present world. There be many created, but few shall be saved. Now, Zion, I'm bringing this out to show you that without a shadow of a doubt, it's going to be a lot of death in the nation of Israel. At least 50%, not including the death toll caused in the time of tribulation. And it's written that the new world will only be created for a few. The severity of each and every one of our salvations is on the line. The saints and the elect will be those that keep the faith in the times of persecution, famine, disease, pestilence, and all manner of plagues that the Most High will send on the earth. They will keep the faith by not being blindly led by men and diligently studying the word to always rebuke, question, and correct those that subvert the doctrine, willingly or unwittingly. So we have the Passover coming up, and lawfully we are to be celebrating the Passover only in Jerusalem. But due to this captivity, we're forced to rehearse the righteous acts in the land of our captivity. So please, no one kill any lambs or try to sacrifice it unto the Lord in an unclean land that's not called by the Lord's name. The reason I'm bringing up the Passover, besides the fact that it's a couple of weeks away, brings us back to the 50% that's guaranteed to go into perdition, and one of the main ways to avoid being part of that number. A lot of us are still spiritually lazy and continue to make the same mistakes that we made in the Christian church, believing anything Pastor Porkchop said on Sunday mornings, because either we failed to read the scriptures ourselves, or we were too cowardly to stand in the congregation and object when we knew the devil in the pulpit was speaking folly. So before I go on, I'm going to read a few precepts that are pretty much redundant. The reason being is because I don't want any misunderstanding as we travel down this road of sound doctrine. The book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 5. In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. The book of Numbers, chapter 9, verses 2 through 3. Let the children of Israel also keep the Passover at his appointed season. In the 14th day of this month, at even shall ye keep it in his appointed season, according to all the rites of it, and according to all the ceremonies thereof, ye shall keep it. The book of Jubilees, chapter 49. First, I'm going to start with verse 1, and then we're going to skip down to verse 14. Remember the commandment which the Lord commanded thee concerning the Passover, that thou shouldest celebrate it in its season on the 14th of the first month, that thou shouldest kill it before it is even, and that they should eat it by night on the evening of the 15th from the time of the setting of the sun. So here it's making it absolutely clear that on sundown on the 14th, which will be the eve of the 15th day of the month, is the day of the Passover. Let's continue. Verse 14. For this reason, the Lord commanded the children of Israel to observe the Passover on the day of its fixed time, and they shall not break a bone thereof, for it is a festival day, and a day commanded, that there may be no passing over from day to day and month to month, but on the day of its festival let it be observed. Meaning every single year on the same day the Passover will be held. For example, if the Passover began sundown Saturday, it'll be held on sundown Saturday every single year, and it would never deviate. The scriptures are quite clear when it comes to this, as we have seen, and there are plenty more scriptures that coincide with keeping the Passover on its exact day, other than if you were on a journey or you were unclean. So common sense should tell us that the moon has nothing to do with tallying the days for the feast. Let's get us a little thought before we hit the precepts to gain a total understanding. Mostly everyone in Israel is smart enough to know that the Shabbat falls on sundown Friday to sundown Saturday, which is the 7th day of the week. Our forefathers used a calendar that had an even, perfect 52 weeks of 7 to equal a year, making each year 364 days, where every month will always start and end on the same days every single year. So obviously, you would start any calendar on the first day, which is Sunday, coinciding with making sundown Friday the start of the weekly Shabbat. Or how else will we have tallied up which day was the 7th day? I say all that to say, using just a little bit of common sense, that sundown, the 14th day of the first month, will always begin on sundown Saturday, every single year. The new moon has nothing to do with the first day of the month. If it did, then the Sabbath would not start on Friday sundown, but would alternate with gross irregularities, contradicting the scriptures. The new moons only mark the exact change in the seasons every 3 new moons, which in that aspect alone will bring in a perfect year according to the seasons. However, this has no bearing on the constant 364 days that bring in the solar year, that bring on the Shabbats and the feast in their appointed times on their exact fixed days. The book of Psalms, chapter 104, verse 19. He appointed the moon for seasons. The sun knoweth it's going down. Jubilees 6 and 23. And on the new moon of the first month, and on the new moon of the 4th month, and on the new moon of the 7th month, and on the new moon of the 10th month are the days of remembrance and the days of the seasons in the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever. Clearly, it says the moon is for seasons. Let's get another precept. The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 43, verses 6 through 8. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. For the moon is the sign of feast, the new moon feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection, meaning the moon is in a decreased state of light. The month is called after her name. Obviously, the translation is off here. The Hebrew months aren't named after women. And as we've been reading, the moon is given a female attribute by being called her, which her names are found in the book of Enoch, chapter 77, verse 2, where it reads, the moon has 4 names. The first is Asonia, the second Elba, the third Benassi, and the 4th Ire. So again, this verse has nothing to do with the new moon being the first day of the month. The book of Psalms, chapter 81, verse 3. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. If you do the history, you'll find out that our forefathers had watchers that watched for the first sliver of the new moon to blow the trumpet, signifying our solemn feast day. Only a crash dummy would think our forefathers was out there looking at nothing and blowing the trumpet. Now this whole lesson goes back to being the elect, being one of the saints, being one of the 50% that make it. Because if you don't have the mind frame as to where you don't think about these sort of things and follow blindly behind man, you're not going to make it. You're going to be one of those ones that are taken. I'm going to read this last verse and then close out. Because if you didn't believe me before, believe me now, because the Most High knows all and sees all and has addressed this problem years before any of us was ever born. The book of Jubilees, chapter 6, verses 34 through 38. All the children of Israel will forget and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto thee. And it is not of my own devising, for the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets of the vision of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant, and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles, after their error and after their ignorance. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons, and come in from year to year 10 days too soon. For this reason the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order, and make an abominable day, the day of testimony, and an unclean day, a feast day. And they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy. For they will go wrong as to the months, and the Shabbats, and feasts, and jubilees. For this reason I command and testify to thee, that thou mayest testify to them. For after thy death thy children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason they will go wrong as to the new moons, and seasons, Shabbats, and festivals. And they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh. Israel, I cannot stress enough the importance of working out your own salvation with fear and trembling, and to be circumspect and validate every action or spoken word through the precepts of the Bible. We have too many wolves in sheep's clothing and followers of men. So Israel, keep your head on a swivel and meditate on these precepts. Shalom.
Yo fam, shalom, it's your brother Icon. Let's get it. Man, let's get on these laws, statutes, and commandments, and I'm trying to get up out of here. Make haste to do it.
I'm gonna ride till I die or the kingdom rise. I'm trying to float up in the sky with Yahweh Shai. Lord, save me before you burn them with the flames of fire. Destroy the heathen, all praises to the Most High. I burnt my hand on the stove up in Hell's Kitchen. Lord, I know these Israelites don't listen. I'm on a mission to fight against the son of perdition, battle wickedness, slay scoffers.